Hey everyone, and welcome to another deep dive.
Yeah.
We're going to be talking about marriage and long-term relationships today.
Right.
And we got some interesting sources.
Yeah.
A little bit of everything.
Yeah.
We've got some statistics on divorce rates. We got some advice from a guy who has been married for 50 years.
Yes.
And we even have a theory about a probability space for love.
I know. I'm really excited about that one.
Sounds kind of science fiction-y,
Right.
but we'll see.
Yeah.
Okay, let's start with something that might surprise you.
Okay.
Divorce rates.
Okay.
So we've all heard that like half of all marriages end in divorce,
Yeah.
but that's not exactly true anymore, is it?
It's true. For first marriages, divorce rates are actually on the decline. And one reason for that is that people are getting married later in life. So, back in the 1960s, the average age at marriage was 19 to 23.
Oh, wow.
People are waiting till their late 20s or even their 30s to tie the knot now.
Yeah, that makes sense.
You have more time to figure out who you are and what you want.
Yeah.
And to make sure you're financially stable, all that
Yes.
stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah, so
Makes a lot more sense.
people are bringing more maturity to it as well, I think. And also, a more pragmatic kind of outlook on relationships. They're less likely to be swept up in those fairy tale ideas about love,
Yeah. Right.
more focused on building a partnership that can actually, weather the storms of life.
Yeah, that makes sense. So waiting longer is definitely a good thing, it seems like.
It seems to be helping.
But one of our sources also has some pretty strong opinions about what needs to happen before you even get to the altar.
Oh, really?
Yeah, so apparently this guy almost went for a mail-order bride
Oh, wow.
because he found California women too uppity.
Well, that's certainly one way to put it. But I think his point is that we often have these unconscious expectations about what a relationship should look like.
Right.
And those expectations can be based on outdated models or even just, plain bad experiences.
Like he wanted someone who would just do what he said without question.
Right, exactly. So you need to have some serious conversations about, what each of you expects from the relationship
Yeah.
before you even think about getting married.
Yeah.
And not just, the big picture stuff like kids and careers,
Right.
but also like the day-to-day dynamics,
Right.
Who's going to do the dishes? Who's going to take out the trash?
Oh, we're gonna pair it.
Yeah, all of that.
All of that.
Really important.
So you're saying it's not just about finding the right person, it's about creating the right environment.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And that brings us to our next source.
Yeah.
This guy who's been married for 50 years.
50 years.
Yeah, he claims to have learned a thing or two about making a relationship last.
He's got 8 key points.
Okay, before we dive into those,
Yeah.
can I just share this hilarious anecdote?
Please.
Apparently, this guy was a total disaster when it came to Valentine's Day gifts, like early in his marriage.
Uh-oh.
One year, he gave his wife cigarettes.
And another year, he gave her doorknobs.
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 Yeah.
They'd been talking about renovating their bedroom.
Okay, I see.
But still, you would think like a romantic card.
Yeah, the card would have been better.
A little something else,
Only for Valentine's Day.
But you know what? Maybe that's part of the secret.
Maybe.
Maybe doorknobs are the key to a long-lasting marriage.
I guess we'll see.
Okay, so anyway, enough about doorknobs.
Yeah.
Let's get to this guy's 8 keys
Right.
to a long and happy marriage. Point number 1, give yourself fully.
Okay.
He talks about the intensity and the demands of marriage and how it requires complete dedication.
Well,
He even uses the phrase, give yourself to the other with abandon.
that's interesting because he doesn't just say be dedicated.
Right. Right.
To me, giving yourself with abandon implies like a level of trust, vulnerability that's essential for a truly intimate connection.
Yeah.
It's about letting go of control,
Oh, wow.
allowing yourself to be fully seen and loved. That's deep.
Even the messy parts.
Okay, his second point's a little controversial.
Okay.
No escape hatch.
Ooh.
Basically, he says you should take divorce completely off the table.
Wow.
Forbid even the word. What do you make of that?
It's a bold statement for sure.
Yeah.
I think his reasoning is that if you always have that option in the back of your mind,
Yeah.
it's too easy to give up when things get tough.
Yeah. Yeah.
So by eliminating that escape route, you're forced to work through problems
Right.
instead of just walking away.
But isn't there a danger in that?
Well, of course.
What if someone is in like a genuinely unhealthy or abusive relationship?
Right.
Should they just stay?
Well, and to be clear, this source is not advocating for staying in an abusive situation.
Okay, good. Okay.
He's focused on the everyday challenges that most couples face. And he believes that having an easy out
Right.
can sometimes prevent us from doing the hard work of repair,
Okay.
you know? So it's about commitment, but also like knowing when to draw the line.
Right, exactly. And that actually ties into his third point,
Okay.
which is give and take.
Okay.
He acknowledges that relationships aren't always 50-50.
Right.
Sometimes you need to give 200%.
Yeah.
And sometimes you need to allow your partner to do the same,
Yeah.
you know?
Yeah. It's about recognizing that there will be times when one person needs to carry more of the weight.
Right.
And that's okay as long as it balances out.
Right, exactly.
Mm.
And he emphasizes that this giving and taking
Right.
should be done with a spirit of generosity, not resentment,
Oh, that's good.
you know?
Yeah.
And he gives a personal anecdote about how his wife made more sacrifices during their working years.
Okay.
So now that they're retired, he makes a point of prioritizing her needs and wants.
I love that. That's beautiful.
Yeah,
It's all about finding that balance, you know, and making sure both partners
right.
feel valued and appreciated.
Absolutely.
Okay, so what about point number 4?
Point number 4 is navigating parenthood.
Oh, yeah, that's a big one.
Yeah, he acknowledges the immense strain that having children can put on a marriage.
Yeah.
And he suggests waiting a year or two after getting married before having kids.
Oh, that's interesting.
Giving yourself time to solidify your bond as a couple
Yeah.
before you add the complexities of parenthood to the mix.
Yeah, that's a really interesting perspective.
Yeah.
What about point number 5?
Point number 5 is all about prioritizing quality time.
Okay.
So, this could mean regular date nights, shared hobbies, or simply carving out time each day to connect without distractions.
Yeah.
The key is to make sure your partner knows that you value their company and that you're making an effort to stay connected amidst the busyness of life.
It is so easy to let those little moments slip away,
It is.
especially when you're juggling work and kids and all the other demands of modern life.
It is. And he argues that those moments
Yeah.
are precisely what keep the spark alive
Okay.
in a relationship. He even compares it to tending a garden.
Okay.
If you don't water and weed regularly, the plants will wither and die.
Okay, I like that.
So it's not enough to just, be in a relationship.
Yeah.
You have to actively cultivate it,
Yeah. Okay, so what about his next point?
His next point is that small gestures matter.
Oh, I love that.
Yeah.
I love small gestures.
He tells this really sweet story about how he makes coffee for his wife several times a day.
Aw.
And she just loves it.
Yeah.
It's such a simple act,
Yeah.
but it speaks volumes about his love and care for her.
Yeah. It's a good reminder that grand romantic gestures are great,
Yeah.
but it's often the little things, the everyday acts of kindness and consideration that truly nourish a relationship.
Exactly. And it doesn't have to be coffee,
Right. Right.
It could be leaving a sweet note,
Yeah.
doing the dishes without being asked, or simply giving your partner a hug
Yeah.
when they've had a rough day.
Yeah.
It's about finding those small ways
Yeah.
to show your love and appreciation.
On a daily basis.
Yes.
Okay, on to point number 7.
Okay.
What is it?
Speaking their language.
Oh.
And he's talking about the importance of understanding your partner's love language and making sure that you're expressing your appreciation in ways that resonate with them.
Right. So if your partner's love language is acts of service,
Uh-huh.
maybe you do a chore that they hate
Exactly.
or surprise them by fixing something that's been broken.
Exactly. He tells this funny story about how he used to give his wife gas station roses before it became a cliche.
Yeah.
But, the point is,
Yeah.
it wasn't about the roses themselves.
Right.
It was about the thought behind them,
Yeah.
the gesture of showing her that he was thinking of her.
It's all about finding those little ways to make your partner feel seen and appreciated.
Yes.
Okay, what is the final point on his list?
His final point is about complementarity, not similarity.
Okay.
He argues that differences can actually be a source of strength in
Yeah.
a partnership.
I like that.
He and his wife have very different personalities.
Okay.
She's outgoing and fun-loving.
Yeah.
He's more reserved.
Okay.
But they complement each other beautifully,
Yeah. Yeah, so it's about embracing those differences and using them to create a more
Absolutely.
well-rounded,
Yes.
dynamic partnership.
He says that their contrasting personalities create a kind of yin and yang balance
Oh, I like that.
in their relationship,
Yeah.
which has helped them navigate challenges and appreciate each other's strengths.
It kind of flips the script on that whole opposites attract thing. It's
Right.
not just about being attracted to someone different.
Right.
It's about recognizing how those differences can actually enhance the relationship.
Exactly. It's about seeing those differences not as obstacles,
Yeah.
but as opportunities for growth and understanding.
Okay, so we've covered a lot of ground here,
We have.
from declining divorce rates
Right.
to the wisdom of a guy who's been happily married for half a century. What's next on our deep dive agenda?
Well, next up, we're going to tackle the crucial topic of communication
Okay.
with some practical advice on how to turn arguments into productive dialogues.
Sounds good.
And then we're going to get real about recognizing and addressing abuse in relationships.
Okay.
So stay tuned.
Looking forward to it.
Yeah.
Should be good.
You two were referred to me by the Office of Student Conduct. You two assaulted each other. Your actions could result in assault charges. Another incident and you will be expelled from this university. I expect the two of you to behave like responsible adults, not bickering children on a playground. You're going to be spending a lot of time together in a little experiment. Tyler, Ashley is going to help you transform into a civilized person.
No way.
Not doing it.
So we've heard from a guy who's been happily married for 50 years.
Yeah.
He seems to have it figured out. But, you know, even he admits that communication is one of the trickiest parts of any relationship.
It's true. Even with all the goodwill in the world,
Right.
our communication can just fall apart sometimes, you know?
Yeah.
So this source is really big on open and honest communication.
Okay.
He says it's the key to resolving conflicts and building a stronger bond.
Which is great in theory. I
Yeah.
think we've all been in those situations where we try and communicate and it just makes things worse.
Oh, for sure.
Yeah.
It's not always easy, and it takes practice.
Right.
And to be fair, I think our source acknowledges that some people have a harder time with this than others.
Okay.
He says that men in particular often struggle with recognizing and expressing their emotions, which can make it really tough to have a productive conversation,
Yeah.
especially when things get heated.
Yeah, for sure.
So he offers a couple of really practical tips.
Okay.
The first one is if you find yourself getting really angry or defensive during a disagreement,
Right.
just walk away.
Okay.
Give yourself some space to cool off.
Like hit the pause button before things escalate.
Exactly. And then once you've calmed down, he says to try and identify what you're actually feeling
Okay.
before you try to talk about it.
Right.
Because sometimes we jump into these conversations
Yeah.
without really understanding our own emotions.
Totally.
And that can lead to a lot of misunderstandings and hurt feelings.
Yeah, so it's about taking a moment to check in with yourself
Yes.
before you check in with your partner.
Exactly.
Okay, I like that.
Yeah. And his second tip is about shifting your perspective on arguments.
Okay.
He makes this distinction between arguments and discussions.
Interesting. What's the difference?
So he sees arguments as being about winning,
Okay.
about proving that you're right
Yeah.
and the other person is wrong.
Right.
But discussions, on the other hand,
Yeah.
are about finding common ground
Right. Yeah.
and coming up with solutions that work for both people.
So it's about moving away from that me versus your mentality
Yes.
and embracing a we're in this together approach.
Exactly. It's about collaboration, not competition.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense.
Yeah.
Okay, let's shift gears a bit
Okay.
to a topic that can be tough to talk about,
Uh-huh.
but it's incredibly important.
Yeah.
Abuse in relationships.
This source does not mince words.
Okay.
Abuse is never acceptable,
Right.
and it's always a valid reason to leave a relationship.
Yeah.
He lists out several different types of abuse, including physical, emotional, verbal, and narcissistic abuse.
And he specifically calls out emotional abuse,
Yeah.
which can be hard to recognize
I hate it.
because it's not always as obvious as like physical violence.
Right.
But he mentions withholding love as a form of emotional abuse.
Yes.
Which I thought was interesting.
It's often overlooked,
Yeah.
but it can be incredibly damaging.
Right.
He argues that, when one partner consistently withholds love and affection,
Yeah.
it can eventually lead to the other partner falling out of love as well.
So it creates this like a vicious cycle
Exactly.
where the relationship just kind of withers.
Yeah.
And he also cautions against self-diagnosing narcissism in a partner. Like,
Okay.
unless you're a trained mental health professional,
Right.
it's not your place to make that judgment.
Exactly.
But he does point out some red flags to watch for,
Yeah.
like gaslighting and blame shifting.
Right. Those are classic manipulation tactics
Yeah.
that abusers use to control their victims.
It's about making the other person doubt their own reality.
Exactly.
Make them feel like they're going crazy.
Exactly.
And he stresses that abuse tends to escalate over time.
Right.
It might start with subtle put-downs or controlling behavior,
Yeah.
but it can quickly spiral into something much more dangerous.
That's why he urges anyone who is experiencing any form of abuse
Right.
to take action immediately,
Okay.
either by demanding that the abuser seek professional help
Yeah.
or by leaving the relationship to protect themselves.
Okay, so we talked about communication. We
Yeah.
talked about abuse.
Yeah.
We heard a lot of wisdom from a guy who's been married for 50 years.
We have.
But now I want to circle back to that probability space concept
Oh, yeah.
that you mentioned at the beginning.
Right.
It sounds like something out of Star Trek.
I know. It's a pretty intriguing idea.
Yeah.
He describes a probability space as an environment where all the necessary elements for something to happen are present.
Okay. Yeah.
Like if you create the perfect conditions,
Right.
it's almost guaranteed that a certain outcome will occur.
So how does that apply to relationships?
Right.
Are you saying that we can somehow engineer love?
Not exactly engineer it,
Okay.
but we can certainly create an environment
Yeah.
where love is more likely to thrive.
Right.
Remember all those things we've been talking about?
Yeah.
Generosity,
Mhm.
trust, open communication, respect, quality time.
Uh-huh.
He believes that when you cultivate these qualities in your relationship,
Yeah.
you're essentially creating a probability space for love.
So we're like stacking the deck in favor of love.
Exactly.
But it's still not a guarantee.
Right. He's not saying that this is some magical formula
Right.
for a happily ever after.
Right.
Relationships take work.
Right.
And even in the best of circumstances, there will be challenges.
Yeah.
But by creating this probability space, you're increasing the likelihood
Right.
that your love will grow and deepen over time.
So it's about setting the stage for love to flourish.
Exactly. And just like a garden, it requires ongoing care and attention.
I love that analogy.
Yeah.
It makes this whole concept so much more tangible and actionable.
Yeah.
So we've planted the seeds,
Yeah.
but now it's up to us to nurture them and help them grow.
Exactly. And that brings us to our source's final thought,
Okay.
which is a question that he poses to his readers.
Okay.
But we're going to tweak it slightly
Right.
to make it more relevant to you, our listeners.
Okay. Hit me with it. What's the question?
What could you do to make your partner feel appreciated every single day?
Wow.
That's a powerful question.
Yeah, it really makes you stop and think
It does.
about all the little things that you can do
Right.
to show your partner that you care.
He encourages us to be creative,
Okay.
to think outside the box,
Yeah.
and to really tap into our partner's love language.
It's about finding those unique and meaningful gestures
Yes.
that will make them feel truly seen and valued and loved.
Exactly. And it's not just about grand gestures.
Right.
It's about those small, everyday acts of love that add up over time.
I love that he even talks about creating a potential space in our minds where entirely new ideas
Yeah.
and expressions of love can take shape.
Yes.
It's about going beyond the traditional and expected.
Right.
and finding those special touches that will
Got it.
make your partner feel like they're the only person in the world.
Exactly.
Okay, so we've covered a lot of ground today, from declining divorce rates
Yeah.
to practical advice on communication and creating a probability space for love.
Yes.
But before we wrap things up,
Yeah.
I think it's important to touch on something that affects a lot of people,
Uh-huh.
but it often gets swept under the rug.
You're talking about loneliness?
Loneliness, yes.
Yeah.
You know, even though we're more connected than ever before,
Right.
loneliness is on the rise.
It is.
And it can have a devastating impact on our mental and physical health.
Absolutely. And it can be especially difficult for people in long-term relationships
Yeah.
who might feel lonely, even when they're surrounded by people.
It's like you can be in a room full of people,
Right.
but still feel completely alone.
Exactly. And it's important to remember that loneliness is a feeling, not a fact.
Okay.
It doesn't necessarily mean that something is wrong with you
Right.
or your relationship.
Right.
You-
Just a sign that something's off.
Yeah.
And it needs to be addressed.
Exactly. And there are things you can do to combat loneliness,
Okay.
both individually and as a couple.
Okay. Let's dive into those.
Okay.
What are some practical steps that people can take? Okay, so let's dive into those. What are some practical steps that people can take?
Well, first of all, it's important to acknowledge those feelings.
Yeah.
Don't just try to brush them under the rug.
Right.
Really think about what might be contributing to those feelings of loneliness.
Okay.
Is it a lack of social connection outside the relationship?
Mm-hmm.
Are you and your partner spending enough quality time together?
Right.
Are there unresolved issues that need to be addressed?
Yeah. Sometimes just identifying the problem can be half the battle.
Absolutely. And then once you have a better understanding of what's going on, you can start taking steps to address it.
Okay.
For example, if you're feeling socially isolated,
Yeah.
try reaching out to friends and family, joining a club or group activity,
Okay.
volunteering in your community.
It's amazing how just connecting with other people, even in small ways, can make a big difference.
It really can.
And if you're feeling lonely in your relationship,
Yeah,
it's important to talk to your partner about it.
absolutely. Sometimes just expressing those feelings can help you feel closer.
It's like that saying, a problem shared is a problem halved.
Exactly. And then you can also brainstorm ways to reconnect as a couple.
Okay.
Maybe you start scheduling regular date nights,
Mm-hmm.
try a new activity together,
Okay.
or simply make a point of putting down your phones and having a conversation.
So sometimes the solution is as simple as making time for each other.
Yeah.
No distractions, just good old-fashioned face-to-face connection.
Right. And, it's worth remembering that building a strong, fulfilling relationship
Right.
is an ongoing process.
Yeah.
There will be ups and downs.
Yeah.
Times when you feel incredibly connected and times when you feel more distant.
Yeah, it's normal.
But it's that commitment to working through the challenges,
Right.
communicating openly
Right.
and showing up for each other
Yeah.
that makes all the difference.
Absolutely. And I think it's important to remember, too, that
Yeah.
if you're feeling overwhelmed or stuck,
Yeah.
there's no shame in seeking professional help.
Absolutely not.
A therapist can provide guidance and support
Yeah.
as you navigate these challenges.
It's like having a coach in your corner,
Exactly.
helping you strengthen your relationship muscles.
Okay, so we've explored the complexities of marriage and long-term relationships.
We have.
From the surprising trend of declining divorce rates to the practical wisdom of our 50-year marriage veteran.
Yes.
And we've delved into the power of creating a probability space for love, where you consciously cultivate the conditions for love to thrive.
Absolutely.
But perhaps the most important takeaway from today's deep dive
Yeah.
is that relationships are a journey, not a destination.
A journey, not a destination. That's right.
There will be bumps in the road, detours, unexpected turns.
Yes.
But with the right tools and a willingness to put in the effort, you can navigate those challenges
You can.
and create a relationship that is truly fulfilling and lasting.
Yes.
So as we wrap things up, let's circle back to that thought-provoking question
Okay.
our source posed.
Yep.
What could you do to make your partner feel appreciated every single day?
Let that question be your guide
Yeah.
as you move forward in your relationships.
Okay.
Remember, love is not just a feeling,
Right.
it's a verb.
Yeah.
Something you do, something you cultivate, something you choose every single day.
And remember, even the smallest gestures of love can have a ripple effect.
They do.
Not just in your own relationship, but in the world around you.
That's right.
So be kind, be generous, be forgiving, and most importantly, be loving.
Beautiful.
That's a beautiful note to end on.
It is.
Thanks for joining us on this deep dive.
Yes, thank you.
And remember to check out the show notes
Yeah.
for links to all the sources we discussed, as well as additional resources on relationships and personal growth.
Yes, lots of good stuff there.
A little bit crazy, never predictable. She's a little bit ornery, but never convictable. She likes to wrestle, she knows I won't hurt, so she always wins. She's a big flirt. Moments of infatuation, moments she takes my breath away. Always sweet and adorable, I can never stray. I love her to pieces, I'm crazy about her. She still seems to like me, to her I always defer. Giving myself in abandon, giving all I am, working through difficulties, marriage strong as a dam. To pieces, I'm crazy about her. She still seems to like me, to her I always defer. Giving myself in abandon, giving all I am, working through difficulties, marriage strong as a dam. Everything I do is driven by you. Without you, I don't feel whole. Fear of failure, fear of loss, fear of losing myself, all worth the soul. Always challenging, standing for what is right. Always your own person, won't quit without a fight. Moments of infatuation, moments she takes my breath away. Always her